Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the DogDare Podcast. This is episode number 17, if you can believe it, or if I can believe it. Welcome back if you are a return viewer, and thank you very much. If you are a new viewer, thank you also for tuning in and listening to me ramble. So, I have a lot to ramble about today. I hope everybody's doing great this week. It is Thursday. It's a little overcast here in North Carolina. And I'm very excited that the work week, as I'm sure a lot of you are, is coming to an end. Let's not talk about next week. We'll start another work week. But anyway. So, I've been sitting here trying to start this thing several times. And I keep having some flub. So I'm just shush and start rambling. So here we go. Let's hope it works. So, where do I want to begin? First off, I am on Instagram as David DogDare. I'll put the info here. And I am on Ravelry under DogDare. If you feel free to join me, especially on Instagram, I'm having some fun posting some fun music videos and clips from movies, and I'm really enjoying Instagram a lot. And sometimes I'll do a little giveaway, which I'll be doing here soon on Instagram. You don't have to copy paste. All you got to do is comment in the photo I post on Instagram, and I'll choose a winner. So stay tuned for that. Again, I'll put the info here, and let's jump in. Let me start off first with a Mal I'm doing with Jennifer and John Michael of the Color and Life podcast. It is hashtag Festivus for the rest of us, because as we know, Christmas is fast approaching, the holidays are fast approaching, and we wanted to connect and join together to do a little Mal to help people get their holiday crafting done ahead of time. So during the holiday season, it's less stressful. So hopefully you can check out the Color and Life podcast for more details on that. And it's a fun little thing. So we should have holidays all year round. All right. Okay. Bye. So next, I'm also going to discuss a new thing. It's not really a Mal, it's not really a cow, so stay tuned. I'll give more info on that here shortly. I do want to thank everybody for their very sweet messages. On my last podcast, I mentioned that one of my older brothers, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, there's 6 boys and 2 girls. One of my older brothers is dealing with stage 4 cancer of lungs, liver, and lymph nodes. He just completed his second treatment of chemo last week. He's set to do his third chemo treatment in 2 weeks, and he's doing a test next week to see if the chemo is actually helping. So I really appreciate everybody's kind words and their prayers and their good vibes and energy and sweet messages, and also sharing with me some of the struggles that they've dealt with themselves. Family members, friends who've also are battling this terrible illness. So with that, I also reached out to LoreLei, Eurto jewelry. She has a shop on Etsy. I'll put all the information down below like I always do. I reached out to her because I had another piece I bought from her shop a while ago, and asked her if she'd be willing to create a piece for my brother that I could send to him or take to him that I could purchase from her shop, and she was very sweet enough to actually do that. So here's the piece that she created. Isn't that beautiful? I wanted like a prayer bead, something he could hold in his hand and feel and feel the energy from. So LoreLei, thank you very much. I absolutely love this. And I know he will as well. I'm going to go out to visit him in a couple of weeks, so I'm debating whether to take it with me and give it to him or ship it. I'll probably ship it to him, though, so he has it sooner rather than later. But LoreLei, thank you very much. And people check out her Etsy shop because she does have some gorgeous works of art. And speaking of holidays coming up around the corner, it's some great holiday shopping to do. Also for that, I went ahead and knitted my brother a little free-form pouch that he could put his prayer beads in, anything else he wants. I am on a crochet kick lately. I'm just doing some mindless crocheting that I'm not really thinking much about. That's what I need right now. And I have been enjoying that. Plus, with the holidays coming up, Festivus for the rest of us, Mao, hashtag, I've also created some other scarves that I know some of my friends will want. And for me, if I'm doing a larger number of holiday gifts, I like to, I'm a huge fan of crocheting because it's quick, a little less complicated to some degree, and just something I can kind of like unwind and not think about everything else. Another piece. This is a infinity one that I created. And last but not least, I was crocheting this piece last week and actually made a mistake on it. So it was nighttime. This is Noro yarn. I started with this thickness. And the next day I realized, because I was that television on and wasn't paying attention, I thought it's the same color, but as you can tell, it's drastically different. Well, now that I look at it, the color's slightly different. But I looked at it and thought, dang, nabbit. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I do need something for my shuttles that I use for my Sayori loom. You put the thread in here, and then you slip it back and forth in your loom, my Sayori loom. And I thought, well, you know what? If I could sew the sides together, I could actually make a pouch that I've been looking for. And then I'm going to put a button here as well. But that's one thing that I actually kind of have fun doing. Sometimes when I make a mistake with something, I look at it again and think, okay, wait a minute. Before I rip it out or get too frustrated, what else could I actually make from it or create from it? Without having to go through the hassle of ripping it all out. So that was one of the successful ones or I think it was successful without having to rip everything out. Currently I'm crocheting this color. This is from Noro yarn. The yarn color is, I don't know how to say this, Mirai, Mirai? But this is what I'm currently working on. And it looks like bubblegum to me or something. But I just love that color. So that's what I'm currently working on. And I can whip those out pretty quickly since they're just single crochet, somewhat mindless to it. Some of the other things I want to show off to you. I also want to thank a few folks. You're probably hearing a little beep. That's my washer going off. May 19th was my birthday, and I actually forgot to show this before. But Michelle, who's known as Vin Girl on Instagram, a very sweet gal. Michelle, thank you so much. She actually sent me a birthday gift. And I'm not one to really announce my birthdays or push for it to other people. I kind of let it go. In fact, my 21st birthday, my family forgot it was my 21st birthday until a week later when my mom's like, wasn't your birthday last week? And I mean, after her having 8 kids, how the heck can you blame her? So I actually get a kind of a kick out of that. I love that story, forgetting my 21st birthday. It's like the, what is that? Is it Pretty in Pink? Molly Ringwald, her family forgets her birthday, 16th birthday or 18th birthday. I think it's her 18th birthday. Anyway, so Michelle sent me a package totally out of the blue, and honestly, it was really a sweet and very touching gift to receive for my birthday gift. She sent me this awesome project bag, which I love. Look at the colors on that. She sent me a little mini here, Sweet Georgia yarn. It's a ginger color. Not a great color. And then she also knit a ornament, a paw print ornament on behalf of my Pinch and Bailey, who passed away a few years back. But Michelle, I can't thank you enough. I can't tell you how much that moved me. It was very sweet and a complete shock to me. So thank you so very much. I appreciate it. She also sent this awesome card because I do have a bit of a thing for squirrels. Who doesn't love that? Look at that. Squirrels. Love them. Also, let me clarify. I do actually push my birthday with my partner, Billy. I do bug him somewhat relentlessly. What are you going to get me? How expensive is it going to be? You know, totally joking, but I always like to play with him that, you know, I try to pretend I'm high maintenance, but I don't think I'm high maintenance. Although, when he joins this podcast in the future as a cameo, I'm sure he might tell you otherwise. A few other little goodies I've gotten recently. I purchased from Knitty by Nature shop. Melissa has a shop on Etsy. And I don't know if that's not going to do it. Anyway, I'm using a new app on my phone called Filmic Pro. So I thought I would try this. I was hoping that the the focus would be better. But anyway, I saw these on her Etsy shop, and these are progress keepers. Let me see if I can prep these a little nicer. They're a little floppy here, but hold on. Look at those. Can you see them? No. Can you see them? They're kitty cat project keepers. Let's see. Kitty cat project keepers. Is that not awesome? So, of course, I'm not showing them very well, but there's one. And there's a ginger one. Boop, boop, boop. Black one. And a white one. I actually used to have two cats, Shiloh and Mulder, who passed away several years ago. Well, quite a while ago. But I do have a thing for kitty cats as well. But I thought that was perfect. And what drove me to that was Kina. Kina. I always want to make sure I get everybody's store names. The Limitless Crafter. She has a She's Crafty podcast. Kina is her name. And I saw this she posted on Instagram. Look at that gloriousness. Look at it. Kitty cats. Is that not awesome? I love it. That is awesome. So Kina, I've bought several things from her shop. Always happy with everything that she creates and makes. Incredible artist. I love it, Kina. So I thought I have to have these with the kitty cat project keepers to make the whole thing complete. So I love that. Another thing here I got recently from I purchased from the Mad Hatter Pottery. Look at their business card. Is that not awesome? Look at that. Is this little guy. Look at him. Little jar. Saw him on Etsy and had to have him. Michelle, or the Mad Hatter was so sweet. Not Michelle, I'm getting my names mixed up. The Mad Hatter sent a really sweet card, thank you card, and a little story. This guy's name is Troy. A little story of Troy's background, which I love. I love that creativity. And I am a huge fan and admirer of artists on Etsy. Want to be a huge supporter of all you folks out there that are trying to make a living or getting some supplemental income by selling your wonderful artistic items. So I'm a huge fan of that. So thank you all very much for taking the time to create stuff and throwing it up on an Etsy shop and having wonderful customer service. That's a huge help. What else did I want to ramble on? 1 second, if you don't mind. Oh! Recently, I finished my hashtag DogDare Bates Motel Mal, which I had a lot of fun with. I think quite a few other people enjoyed it. It turned quite a few people on to the Bates Motel show, which I absolutely love. It ended recently in the final 5th season. No spoilers. But Michelle from the Knotty Wits podcast, which I'm sure you all are aware of, and Carrie from the Creative Obsession podcast, sent me a wonderful little thank you gift and I'm going to show you. So it is a Bates Motel t-shirt. Awesomeness. Look at that. Love it. So thank you, Michelle and Carrie. That was very sweet and very surprising when it came in the mail. So thank you very much. Definitely check out their podcasts, as well as all the other ones. So a new podcast, my friend Jake from the Dogstar Knits recently sent me this awesome mug. Look at that. Is that not me or what? And he saw it at a recent show, and I'm sorry I didn't write down the artist who created this, but I'll try to find it and post it in the comments below. But thank you very much, Jake. I love that. And speaking of Jake, Jake and his lovely wife, Ray, just started a Dogstar Knits Makecast. It's a new podcast. They have one episode, and I absolutely love it. They are a wonderful pair, wonderful folks, very sweet people, and they are now embarking on the land of podcasts. I love that they're calling it a Makecast because it's going to encompass quite a lot of creative craftiness. They both they dye yarn. Jake dyes yarn. Dogstar knits. You'll see in past episodes him and I teamed up for a collaboration, and just a wonderful guy from the moment he reached out to me about a year ago when I first started my podcast to do a collaboration. So I actually get to meet him and Ray in Rhinebeck this year. In fact, we are, stay tuned, there's going to be some fun details about that. It'll be LoreLei's involved, Nancy from the Round Rabbit podcast is involved as well. So stay tuned. We all are thinking of possibly doing a little fun thing. So, and speaking of Dogstar Knits, let me cut to a commercial. I will be right back.
Alone in a world of darkness, a man and his trusted dog is left to protect the only thing left to humanity that has any value. The only saving grace left in a cold, dark world. Dogstar Knits. Yarn he would risk his life for. Forever.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that commercial. There will be more commercials in the future. Fun little way for me to kind of promote other folks out there. That's something I posted on my Instagram feed a little while back, and I think it would be a fun little element for me to throw into my podcast. So stay tuned for that. Also, I wanted to mention LoreLei also has her own podcast that I also want to mention. It's called Knits and Beads Podcast. So definitely check out her podcast as well. And I know that you will definitely enjoy it. Next thing I want to mention is FlossTube. So I've recently, last podcast, I mentioned that I'm working on a counted cross stitch of a Ouija board. Here is my very limited progress on that. Like I said recently, I've been kind of just escaping and crocheting. And so this is a little slow, but I'm going to get into it a little more, or a lot more, because I'm enjoying it. I've also recently purchased a pattern called And a Forest Grew, which is beautiful. I actually saw this on Lindy Stitch's podcast. A really sweet gal. That's her podcast. Saw this on there and just loved it. I ordered the kit, so I actually got the kit in the mail, and it's a bit overwhelming because this is a lot of thread. A lot of thread. So I will be looking forward to starting that here soon. And for that, I went ahead, I have a local, it's about 25 minutes away, cross-stitch store that I mentioned in the last podcast. Really sweet ladies that own it and run it. And I went there a while back and wanted to get the fabric for the And a Forest Grew. So I got this linen hand-dyed. Look how huge that is. Huge, 32 count. It's on my new quantum frame, which I cannot highly recommend enough. Is that a sentence? I can't recommend enough. Or I highly recommend it. Anyhow, the quantum is fantastic. It takes a couple weeks to actually get. It's from overseas. The Ouija board I got from the local cross stitch store, and it's nice, but I'm not crazy about it. It was a bit wonky to put together, and the quantum though is fantastic. I mean, it's so easy to put on. It's secure. It's easy to make it straight and tighten it. Huge fan of that frame. And Gerald from Gerald Ginger Stitches. Again, was very sweet. He answered a bunch of questions for me. I reached out to him. He has a podcast, and he gave me some great tips on what size to order and stuff. So thank you for that, Gerald. All right. Now what am I going to ramble about? I want to make sure I covered everything. Virtual Knit Night. I also want to give out a shout out and a thank you to Eleni and Philip. They've reached out. We've been connected for a few months now. Very wonderful folks. They live over in Greece. They've been doing a virtual knit night that they've been kind of pushing me towards doing. It's hosted by Grace O'Neill from the Babbles Traveling Yarns podcast. Grace is a wonderful host or hostess who does these virtual knit nights, VKNs, a few times a week. Philip and Eleni finally encouraged me to join. I joined last week and had a blast. Several people were on there, very sweet, welcoming, wonderful folks. It was done via Zoom app, which is free, and I cannot highly recommend that one either. I'm saying that wrong today. I need a new phrase. I highly recommend it. I've used Skype with work a few times, and I'm not a fan of Skype. It's just jumpy, and it drives me nuts, which is my hesitation with joining a virtual knit night was it's not fun for me to webcam with someone when the thing is shoddy and it's kind of jittery and it's not good quality. But the Zoom was awesome. So I'm really happy I joined. So thank you, Philip and Eleni, for encouraging me to do that. Definitely check out Eleni's shop on Etsy. She has some beautiful bags and knitted items and yarn. I'll put her info here as well. So check her out. As you can tell, there's a lot of recommendations today for the future holidays. So if we want to start our shopping now, which I'm trying to do, in crafting, it's a good time to jump in so we're not all overwhelmed as we get closer to the holidays. So, I don't know how long I've been rambling. I don't know if I'm talking too fast on these. I need to probably slow down. But there you have it. So, the next thing I want to mention is the hashtag. The hashtag is DogDare DAL. It's not a Mal. It's not a cow. It's a DAL. So what that means is DogDare Along. So what I want to start is a hashtag DogDare DAL. DAL, DogDare Along. And it's going to be ongoing. It's not going to have an end date. There will be prizes. There'll be some great prizes along the way. So since it's not an end date, there's going to be prizes I'm going to throw out along as time goes on. It may be via Instagram. It may be via here at YouTube. But the reason behind it is I wanted it to encompass dares that we all give ourselves. It may be knitted related. It may be weaving related, stitching related, sewing related, life related. It can be all of that. And I just want to encourage everybody, as I'm encouraging myself, to dare ourselves with various things. And be okay if we, don't make it or we quote unquote fail at it, because in my book, I don't think there is such a thing as fail as long as you're giving it all giving it all you got and going for it. So this came along with when I was a child. Let me go back in time. When I was a child, a while ago, in elementary school, we had a singing class. We had I remember vaguely in elementary school, I think it may have been 4th grade, something like that. we had a singing teacher come in, and for a couple days she taught, we had a little lesson on singing lessons. And wonderful lady. I had a little bit of crush on her at the time. We all know how that turned out. But we, really sweet lady, and very encouraging. And my freshman year in high school, I was going to high school, and I was walking into school, and she was walking out of this room, and she recognized me, oddly enough, and I recognized her. Very sweet woman. I wish I remembered her name, but she asked me, "Hey, did you ever pursue singing? Because you have a really wonderful voice." And of course, I'm like, no. But that kind of stuck with me, and through my life, I've always been drawn to really great singers of all varieties. And I've always had a little bit of a secret wish to be able to sing well. We all can sing, but I want to be able to sing well. Now that's, goes hand in hand with my quote unquote stage fright. I've mentioned in the podcast before that I wanted to be an actor since I was a wee child, a rambling little child. And I did my first audition at a local community theater when I was, I don't know, my early 20s, I think. And it was horrendous, just terrible. And I left there just deflated for a couple days thinking, now what's left? Because I was so much wanting to do it. Of course, in hindsight, I should have went and taken some classes. I shouldn't have let that... I shouldn't have gone in cold, without any practice. I mentioned before, the little script, I was across from this woman in this little script. I had a British accent all of a sudden. I had no idea why. It just was coming out that way. So in my mind, I'm like, what are you doing? And incredibly nervous and incredibly just everything. So, no. So, over the years, I've been thinking about, maybe I should take singing lessons, but oh God, how am I going to be able to sing in front of the teacher even? I have no aspirations of singing on stage or singing for people. So, last week I made an appointment, and I'm going tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Friday morning, 10 a.m., to see a local singing vocal teacher. I'm taking singing lessons. So, my dare, which kind of comes into play with the hashtag DogDare DAL, my current dare, one of them, is to take singing lessons. I spoke with the gentleman the other day on the phone, and nice guy, but he said something like, "Yeah, we'll come on in Friday. We'll go over, what you're looking for and what your, hopes and dreams are about taking lessons, and we'll also have you sing, and we can see where you're at." And just the idea of singing in front of someone else is really scary for me. It's one thing singing at home, singing in the shower. But when the idea of doing it in front of someone just scares the heck out of me. So I'm daring myself to do it. I dared myself to do this podcast a little over a year ago. I hemmed and hawed quite a lot about it. I'm having trouble with phrases today. And I thought, you know what, just do a podcast. Worst case scenario, you get a bunch of rude comments, delete the thing, and nobody's the wiser. So thanks to all of you and all of your wonderful support and comments. Here I am still rambling a year later. I don't know how much longer I'll do a podcast, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it and very thankful for all the wonderful folks I have met along the way. So singing this Friday, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., I will be singing or taking a singing lesson. So I will keep you posted on that. But that's just a little example of what got me thinking about dares. And the reason why I named my podcast DogDare is dogs. I love dogs. And it was a dare for me to do this. I dared myself a couple years ago to tour that haunted, quote-unquote, haunted abandoned asylum by myself and loved it. That was a huge, wonderful experience, and I want to do that again. Check out my past podcast for info on that and footage. But, that was a dare, to wander an asylum alone that is allegedly haunted. So, Hashtag DogDare DAL, DAL. So it can be, you might say, you know what, I've always wanted to knit a sweater. And I'm going to dare myself to knit a sweater. You don't even have to put a deadline. You don't even have to put I want it done in a week or a month, whatever. Let's just all kind of have fun with this and see what everybody's dare is. It could be something a little more serious that I haven't spoken to my mother or my daughter or my brother or whatever in so many years because we've had a falling out, and I'm going to dare myself to call them and just try to reconnect. If there's things that you want to dare yourself and you don't want to share it publicly on Ravelry, because I'm going to put a thread on Ravelry, hashtag DogDareDal, and keep that going, you can message me privately if you want and share it with me. If you don't even have to share it with me if it's too personal. You can just say, David, I'm doing this dare that involves a family situation, and it's kind of private, but I just want to let you know I'm doing it. As you can see, I don't like to put a lot of rules on it. Let's just have fun. There's enough rules out there in the world. There's enough, guidelines and restrictions. I don't want to do any of that stuff. Let's just have fun with it. And if you need any support from me or from the fellow folks that watch this podcast, feel free to throw it in the thread on Ravelry. Mention it down below. Again, as the time goes on, I will throw a little... I will access the Ravelry site and randomly or selectively choose a winner and contact you and say, hey, you won. Here's a little prize. I may throw it up on Instagram, or I will at some point throw them up on Instagram and say, hashtag DogDareDal. Go ahead and make a comment below, an update, or mention what your dare is down below, and then from that Instagram, I will pull viewers, the next day and give away a gift certificate or whatever. But as you can see, I'll develop it as it goes. It's very free form. The sole purpose is that we can encourage each other to dare ourselves to do whatever that is. I'm afraid of heights. I skydived years ago with friends at work, many, many years ago. Tandem skydive with the guys attached to your back. And scared the heck out of me. Until actually, once I jumped and I'm free falling, that was actually one of the most peaceful things, oddly enough. Because at that point, I'm like, what can I do? If this is it, this is it. And the other thing was, you don't feel like you're falling. You feel like you're floating. So it was actually really incredibly amazing. Until the parachute, he engaged the parachute, and then you get yanked. And my voice went up quite a bit because that harness I was in started to get tighter and tighter as we were getting closer to the ground. So my, 500 feet above the ground, I'm like, just get me down, get me down, get me down. Because I was starting to lose feeling in the lower half of my body. Not fun. But I am in no way a daredevil. I'm actually I think I'm somewhat of an opposite of a daredevil. I've been hit by a truck on a bicycle, broke some bones, had surgery on my neck with bone from my hip was... 2 discs in my neck were removed, a bone from my hip was put in there, and a metal bars in my neck from an accident I had years ago riding my bicycle where a freight truck ran a stop sign and hit me. When I was younger, we were in a car accident that flipped the car on its side, and we were skidding down the freeway. There's been accidents that have happened in my life. My father died of a heart attack when I was a kid in front of my mom and I. Just stuff like that. So I'm a little bit of a... I'm very aware of mortality. And when I drive, I tend to be a little bit of a nervous driver. Not nervous, but I'm always aware of my surroundings. So I'm always on high alert when I drive because of my past accidents. But so I don't want to make it sound like I'm a daredevil. You don't have to be an uber daredevil. You can be, let's call it an armchair daredevil. And let's just have some fun with daring ourselves to whatever that is. So I'll keep you posted on my current hashtag DogDareDal, which is singing lessons tomorrow. I'll keep you posted on that. But I hope we can have fun with that. So I think that is pretty much all that I was going to ramble about. One last thing. So I don't know if any of you folks are like this. I'm sure you are, where you get a skein of yarn. This is hedgehog fibers. This is Bubble is the name. Look at that color. Boop, 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 boop. Look at that color. Isn't that beautiful? This is one of those skeins that I've seen, and I love it so much in the skein form. I love it just like this. I don't want to cake it, and I don't want to knit with it, because I love the color and how it looks here so much that I don't want to mess with this. I'm curious to what it would look like caked and what it would look like knitted up, but this is one of those few skeins that I'm like, I do not want to mess with this. I do not want to touch this. I'm leaving it as is. Does anybody else have a skein of yarn out there that is the same way? Or am I just the oddball in the group? Maybe the oddball. But I have worked in the past with some resin, and excuse my big back head. A while back I created this. This is a Polaroid photo of a doll, a collectible action figure, not a doll, that I have, that I took photos of. And on a Polaroid, there's a process where you can throw the cut the Polaroid, you put it in hot water, and then you agitate it, and eventually this film comes off, where it's a very, feathery, thin film. And I put this in this dish, and I covered it with resin to figure out with it. Oddly enough, the colors, it's fading as time goes on. But I fiddled around with resin in the past with different odd crafty things that I wanted to try. And I thought maybe I should encase this in resin. So I'm debating on finding a tube of some sort and pouring the resin in and seeing what would happen if I encase this in resin. Now that may infuriate some folks out there. What are you doing? It's hedgehog fibers. Sacrilege! Don't worry, I didn't say I'm doing it. I'm just thinking about it. I'm trying to think of some clever ways to kind of keep this as is in a rather unique option. The other option is most likely maybe what I'll do is a glass cloche, which I have up here. I have many of those. Hello, Diane, my friend who has a similar attraction to these domes, glass domes. I may find a small dome that fits exactly the size of this skein. But I will keep you posted. Again, don't get too angry. I hope you're not furious. You're messing with hedgehog fibers. It's just, I love this so much as is that I want to kind of honor it more than just having it sitting there on my table. Now, of course, I know with resin, the colors may fade, which also might be kind of interesting. I don't know if anybody else has ever dyed or if it has ever encased a skein in resin before, but I'll keep you posted on that. So I think that's it for today. I think I've rambled enough. I kept you long enough, I believe. So thank you all again very much for taking the time to watch. I love all your comments here and on Instagram and Ravelry. I read them all. I do my best to respond to all of them. I think, if you're taking the time to watch and leave a wonderful comment, then I want to definitely make sure I return that favor. So thank you. I hope everybody's doing good, doing wonderful. If you're having a rough time, just breathe through it. And tomorrow's another day, and we'll breathe through it together. Hope you have a wonderful upcoming weekend, and do something kind for yourself. Do something kind for your little furry animals and your loved ones. So until next time, thank you very much again. Have a wonderful time, and I will see you later. Bye.